Welcome to Motorsport Coaching, the podcast for racers with racers. Miss Motivate can help get you to the next level. Every episode, she talks to the best racers of today and those that can get you there. She'll help you get better
Racing news
at fitness, nutrition, sports psychology, sponsorship, social media, public relations, and media training. Connect with Miss Motivate at motivatetraining.com.au. That's MOTIV, the number 8, training.com.au. And now, to help get you to the next level, Miss Motivate herself, Belinda Risley.
All right, so today, again, we welcome Adam Mercer, 2016 X30 Australian champion. We're going to talk about how he started and where he is today. So, Adam, welcome.
Thank you.
So, let's start from the beginning. How old were you when you first started racing?
So I was 11 years old when I started racing. So yes, we started just as my dad, my brother. They obviously started the year before I did, and then I ended up with my brother's hand-me-down kart the following year. So I was 11 years old. So I was probably a bit older than a lot of kids are starting these days. So there's kids in the karts at the moment at 5 and 6 years old. So but I was 11, so I missed a few years at the start there.
So that was back into 1997. And how did you get into karting?
Yeah, so we had some friends that lived in the neighbourhood that had karts, and back then it was a lot easier to get into racing. You know, if you had a friend, you could just go to the local kart track and jump in his kart and go for a drive. But with the insurances and stuff these days, unfortunately, it's not as easy as doing that. So, but we just started out with one kart that my brother and I shared there for a period. So, yeah, that was how we got into it, just through a neighbourhood friend.
And what type of karts and teams have you been involved with over the years?
Yeah, I had the first kart I ever had was a JP Sprinter, which aren't around anymore, but they were built by one of Australia's karting greats, John Pizarro, and that was it probably wasn't even the right kart for what I needed to be in. It was a full size kart that shrunk down to fit a rookie in it, or now called Cadet 12, but I started in that, and then I moved into a Dino kart, which were around in the sort of the 90s and early 2000s, right through Australia. They were probably the kart to have at the time. And then I went from a Dino into Tony kart. So I was in Tony kart for a fair few years there, and then I went into Cosmic, and then for the last 7 years I've been in the Arrow brand with DPE kart technology. So we've done it sort of for the first 9 years. We were just doing it as a family, sort of as the three of us, and obviously my mum. But then as the years got on and we were getting more and more serious with it, we moved to Brisbane, and we got tied up with RV Engines, which Ralph Van Dorn, who's been in the sport for a long time, and he looked after me and my brother for a number of years, right through our junior days, and then from the point I started working at Pacific Kart Sport, I've been tied up with them now for the last 7 years. I've been going with them. It's been going really good. So I've only really been with one sort of shop team, but we've sort of been associated with people that have helped us along the way as well.
Fantastic. Wow, 7 years at the one team. That's very honourable. And so what experiences has karting opened up for you?
I've been quite fortunate to be able to, for me, the biggest one was I was able to travel overseas and race. That was off the back of a prize from 2016. Been able to meet a lot of great people in the sport, and I've got a lot of lifelong friends who I basically associate myself with now, and I've also created a career out of it. You know, that's my day-to-day job. It's probably a job that most people would dream of doing, but it's been good for me, and it's I've had a lot of fun doing it, and I still get to race and I get to work on them day to day, which is pretty cool.
Fantastic. And so you've been Australian champion. You've been racing for 19 years. You've obviously had some highest of highs and lowest of lows. Can you share some of those with us?
Yeah, so obviously the highs are obviously we won a state championship and national championship, but then we've had some years there in between where you think, what's going on? Nothing would go right. Nothing fell into place. The year after we won the Australian Championship, we had an absolute shocking year. So that was just due to a lot of different things where, we were developing a kart at the same time with DPE, which we were all aware of, that it was going to be a long road, but we had a lot of other dramas and things going on at the same time. So we went from having a really good, successful year in 2016 to an actually really sort of average year in 2017. So, but that's motorsport. It does happen. It took me 19 years to get to the championship in 2016. So for me, it's just about building, and you've got to take the highs with the lows. And unfortunately, in the sport we're in, there's a lot more lows than there are highs.
Yes, we all are fully aware of that. And so are you still currently racing at the moment?
Yeah, so I've taken a step back from the mainstream racing. So I still do all the club shows that we have here. So I'm still racing regularly at Ipswich. Try and get to the country clubs, Toowoomba and Warwick and Kallula and places like that when we can. But mainly at the moment it's just Ipswich. I've done I did the Rotax Pro Tour a few weeks ago at Ipswich, but that was just a sort of a wild card event for me, where it was just sort of to do a bigger event for the year, just because we'd step back from the bigger scene, just due to circumstance. We just, at this time of the year, we don't have the free time, or my dad doesn't have the free time at the moment to be able to just drop everything and go traveling around the country racing. So that's been the biggest reason why we've just taken a step back from the national circuit. But at the same time, I do miss it. But karting will always be there. I've always found. So there's always next year and the year after that we can hopefully go back and do the national scene again next year.
And so you've raced nationally and internationally. What have been the best tracks you've come across, and why is that? Like, what do they possess that other tracks don't?
Yeah, the main one, obviously, it's a track that a lot of people that have been around a long time will know of. My favourite track in Australia would have to be Raleigh International Raceway, which unfortunately we don't race at or go to anymore. And last time I was there, the track has deteriorated a fair bit. It was just south of Coffs Harbour, right in this nice sort of rainforest area. A lot of undulation. It was a big, long track. It was international spec, and a lot of famous drivers have all raced there. Unfortunately, we don't get to go there anymore, but we were fortunate enough. I did a lot of racing there as a junior, with the Ford Kart Star series and things like that. And yeah, it's a shame that we don't go there anymore, but hopefully, I don't know, one day things might change and we can go back there. But
they keep getting flooded, so unfortunately they can't.
But the second one for me would be Le Mans in France. Just that was the first ever European track I've been to, so it was a lot longer than any track that we have here, but just the way the track's constructed and the pit area and everything like that, it was right next door to the 24-hour circuit. So it was actually sort of inside the 24-hour circuit paddock sort of thing. So so you could see the main straight and all that from the kart track. So that was really cool. So those two tracks would have to be my favourite that I've been to.
And when you say it's bigger, like, is it another kilometre bigger, or how bigger is it? And you mentioned off air before that they had really great catering facilities and the bitumen. How are they
Yeah, so
Australian tracks different to Australian tracks?
yeah, so the international circuit spec, most of the tracks over there are over 1,200 meters long. So here in Australia, most tracks are maybe no bigger than 1 kilometre long. So they're well, mine by memory, I think was about 1,350 metres. So for instance, Ipswich track, which is probably one of the bigger tracks in the country, it's 1,050 metres. So it's another 300 metres bigger than Ipswich. So and they're 10 metres wide. So why most of our tracks here are 8 metres wide. So we do have some tracks that are very similar here that are on that sort of scale that like Emerald and Pimpamar, which is just the higher circuit there they do race the stars at. But yeah, so the track lengths are a lot longer over there. The pit areas are all bitumen, so there's no gravel or dirt. So you're not, at the end of the day, all your stuff's always clean and immaculate. So you're not having to clean the cart as much. And at the bigger events over there, for France, for instance, they have full catering facilities. So the competitors can pay a fee. I think by memory it was about €30 a day, and that provided you a lunch and dinner seating at the track in a full 5-star catering facility. So that was that was sort of some of the stuff they do. That's obviously at the bigger events, but the pit areas and stuff like that, they seem to spend the money in sort of different areas over there. Like we've got all undercover grids and things here. While over there, the grids are just open with 2 fence lines down either side, where it's like they just spend the money in different areas of the circuit. So, but it seems to be a lot more laid back as far as some of the things that they do over there. You would never get away with doing here, and I think that's just more to do with all the insurances and things like that.
No, not insurance having an impact on our sport. Who would have thought? So obviously after 19 years of being a competitor, you would have done some sort of fitness training. What kind of things have you done along the way for your general health, and what do you do now?
Yeah, so at Pacific Car Sport, we've got a Tabata TRX training system set up upstairs at work, which we had a good friend of ours who's basically does all that sort of stuff as a part-time sort of job, but he come and set all that up for us, and that's all set up upstairs at work there. Then myself and Dale and a few customers from time to time come up, and yeah, we just punch it out for, it's only sort of half an hour worth of work, but it's all high intensity short burst stuff. So you're pretty knackered by the end of that. So we do that most Tuesday nights. We've been going pretty good lately. We've sort of been, the last few months, we've done it every Tuesday night. So we've been keeping that up as much as we can. And then also I do a bit of touch football during the week as well. So that sort of keeps my cardio stuff intact, because that's a high intensity game too. So yeah, but yeah, mainly just the TRX stuff. We focus on that because it's sort of just builds up it's all mental sort of strength stuff.
And you just utilizing your body weight?
Yeah, so it's all just body weight stuff. So do things like battle ropes and things like that. So it's just a big, thick, like boat anchor rope that you basically shake up and down for. Depends how long you want to set your stations up for. So we do 45, 50 seconds of flat out battle rope as fast as you can go, without dropping your form. And yeah, it's just things like that, and it's all stuff to do with just yourself, your own body weight. So use your own body weight to you'd be surprised how much it can actually burn you up.
Yeah, for sure. And people don't realize they're thinking that they've got to hit the gym and do dumbbells, but actually when it comes to motorsports, it's really important. One of the benefits is just to actually utilize your body weight, because it's the biggest weight that you need to carry, especially when you're driving.
Yeah, so we find, like, Dale and the guys who I deal with at the moment, they've been around the sport for 30 plus years, so for them, what they've seen, we find that core strength is probably the main objective we find, which, if you don't have good core strength, it sort of affects your posture in the kart, and therefore, if your posture starts to fail, it then can start affecting your driving technique. So, it's all we find. The core strength is probably the most one we would focus on with most of the guys we help through the shop there, to focus on if they're going to do anything. I don't think doing weights and things like that, I don't think it's a different sort of strength that you need when you're driving karts and race cars or whatever it is, sort of motorsport related that you're doing. I think more mental and core strength is probably the key we find.
And so, should I ask you about nutrition, or how's your nutrition?
Yeah, probably. I'm pretty lazy when it comes to nutrition, but
yeah,
I try my best to keep the fluids up and things like that, especially in summer here in Queensland, like the summer months here at the kart track. You got a race suit on, it's 35 to getting close to some days 40 degrees. And we probably, I don't drink enough water and things like that to probably what I should be, but just got to try and keep the fluids right up and try and eat the right things to sort of, natural energy things like bananas and stuff like that, I think are quite good, because they just give you that natural energy that you need, and stop basically fatigue, because I find it's quite easy to fatigue in the summer heat. So things like that, I find is but I'm probably not the best person to talk to when it comes to natural nutrition, because I sort of tend to I can get a bit slack there.
All right, well, let's talk about something that you are great at. What about mental preparation? Throughout those years, have you had some sort of superstition, or a mantra, like a saying, or a track walk, or something that you've worn or done to get you into the mental state prior to each race or each race meeting?
Yeah, so I definitely do try and do track walks as much as we can. Sometimes time doesn't permit, but places I've never been to, we definitely make sure track walks do happen. For me, I had for a period there, I was always getting in the kart from the left-hand side, because I had this theory that with the airbox where it is, if I had something stuck on my foot, that would drop down in the airbox and then potentially go through the engine. So for a period of time there, I always used to get on the left-hand side, but I had a pair of gloves that I wore all through 2016 when we had a great year, and but those gloves unfortunately started to fall apart at the end of that year. So unfortunately, they're no longer around, nor can you buy them anymore. So so I don't try and look into that stuff too much, but I just, for some reason, whenever I wore that one set of gloves, we always had a good result. So I just put it down to that.
And what about a saying, or are you one to listen to music before you go out, or how do you motivate your clients, I guess?
Normally, I always tell the people, if I'm helping anyone, my saying, especially with karting related, is you need to get out of the kart what it can provide you, not what you want it to provide you. So for me, with the young kids, especially, and juniors and stuff like that, it's just, kids tend to overdrive the kart and try and ask a little bit more than what it can give. So if they can tone it down and get the most out of the kart, but obviously not over push the mark, I find that's where all the speed comes from. So for me, it's not to try and get what the kart can provide you, but not what you want it to provide you. So so if you can maximise both of those things, I think you're normally going pretty good.
Fantastic. And so, do you actually do driver training? Tell us a little bit about your work, what you do at Pacific Kart Sport.
Yeah, so we do offer driver training. We're actually flat out pretty much every week. We normally Thursday and Friday every week at the moment. We're at Ipswich Kart Club. I haven't been doing so much of it. Normally Dale does all that, because he's been doing it for a long time. He's mentored a lot of probably stars that people see on the TV these days. So he's been doing it for a long time. So sort of trust his instinct in the driver training side of things at with what we do at the shop there. And then I tend to I'm at the shop looking after the normal day-to-day stuff when he's at the track doing that. So at the moment we're there Thursday and Friday every week, and it's not about for us. It's not about trying to make money or anything like that. It's just we try and get the most out of our customers. And Dale religiously every track day is always a track walk. Starts the day with a track walk, and then it's always good too for new people. He'll go through things with the cart that probably most parents or what that are new to the sport haven't been taught or showed before. So most of it is on the track, but there's also we go through stuff in the pit area and things like that. So yeah, go over the cart and teach them wheel alignments and things like that. So we do sort of practical stuff as well as theory stuff. So and sometimes we find it's just as beneficial for the parents as it is for the driver. So a lot of things, especially with kids, we work on is braking technique, because a lot of little kids don't tend to like to use the brake. So if we can teach them to start using the brake the way it should be, then it's also where a lot of the speed comes from is learning to stop the cart properly.
And is specific kart sport aligned with a specific engine builder, or do you guys use different engine builders for? Yep.
Yeah, so we've had a long time alliance with John Target, JT Motorsport. So John's been around the sport for a very long time. He's one of our Australian greats who's raced over in Europe for a number of years. He lived there for a number of years, raced for a lot of the factory teams over in Europe, and is very well respected over in Europe. So John originally was building the engines. We were all in the one shop together. So where we are at the moment, and then basically when all the new engine changes come out, John basically does all the engine work now from home, but still is hands-on with all our customers, does all their engines, track support and all the rest of it that comes with it. So yeah, JT Motorsport does all of our stuff through Pacific Kart Sport.
Fantastic. And what do you love about your job, or love about karting and the sport that it is?
You get to meet a lot of good people, I find. We're fortunate we've got a really great customer base through our shop, and we get to meet a lot of really cool people, a lot of interesting people that have come from different walks of life, that have you never know what the next person walking the doors story is, and some of them we've got some really great customers. I'm sort of a hands-on sort of person as far as mechanically, so I like working with tools and things like that. So I enjoy the building and the workshop side of my job. So for me, karting is a very technical sort of a sport, the driving side of it, and then working at the setup side of it too. So, but for me, for the things I like about my job is just the hands-on side of the role.
Fantastic. So we're going to get a little bit personal now. So how did a boy from Wagga Wagga end up in Brisbane?
Yeah, it's a bit of a country New South Wales. So yeah, born in Wagga, spent right up till we moved up here when I was 12 years old. So year after I started racing. So I started racing at Wagga Kart Club. My mum was actually the secretary there for the first couple of years that I was racing. And then my dad got a role with the Brisbane Broncos. So we moved up here basically on the scheme of that. So he was there for 7 years. He was there right through all the glory years when they had a really good and really great team back then, with all your great players that you hear of today. So he was there right through from 1997 or 8 right through to mid 2004 or something like that. I think he finished up there. So so that was the reason why we moved up here. and we've been here ever since. So yeah, that's how I ended up in Brisbane.
So I guess the most important question of today is, who do you go for, New South Wales or Queensland?
So I know I've stick to my guns. I always have followed the Blues, and I always will. Even though it's been a sad 12 years that we've had to deal with, but yes, I've always believed in the saying, it's state of origin, not state of where you live. So I stick to where my origin is.
Fantastic. Good boy. And so you've been with your beautiful partner, Joe, for 10 years now. Did you meet at the track, and how's that relationship evolved? And we were talking about sacrifices before. And obviously you're working all the week and you're away racing on the weekend. Has that had an effect on your relationship as well?
So firstly, we met at a kart track because Joe raced for a number of years herself in Sydney. So she grew up racing in Sydney with probably a lot of the people you know. But we actually met, I think by memory, it was in 2005 or 6 at Townsville Kart Club. It was the Queensland State Championships. She was at the track, and yeah, just through mutual friends and whatnot, we met there. And then 2 years later, we caught up again. I can't remember what we were doing, but yeah, we were at somewhere the same time, and then yeah, one thing went from one to another, and here we are now 10 years later. So yeah, so we met through karting, and for me it's sort of been a helping hand because I've you have partners that don't understand motorsport, so it's hard to sort of go, oh, sorry, I've got to go away for the next 4 days for racing, and like with Jo, she understands how the ball rolls, so it's made life a lot easier for me. So she's always been supportive of the racing side of things, so it's never been an issue. Trying to when we need to go to the track or whatever needs to happen, even with work these days, it's she'd rather be me be doing it than not doing it. So that's always been good.
Yeah, so I'd say that's fantastic that you've been able to have that supportive partner for you to pursue not only your career but your hobby as well.
Yeah, so yeah, she's she every now and then we try and get her out in the cart when she can, but yeah, she's just with time and work herself these days, she just doesn't get to get out in the cart as much as she'd probably like. So, and normally it's because I'm in the cart too, so we don't really have anything or someone to sort of look after, or I'm racing. So yeah, she's normally the supportive one on the race weekend, but she enjoys the role. She helps out and does what she can within our team and within the kart club. She did have a role there for a period of time, but she's just a spectator these days.
She's planning a big wedding. So what is the best advice you have been given when it comes to racing? No doubt you've had a lot of mentors, whether it's been your dad or Dale across the years. Who has been your mentor? Is it a Formula One driver?
I've had a like I'd probably have to say like like without my dad, I wouldn't be racing. So I wouldn't be without the parents and the thing. So I wouldn't be racing for a start without them. So I'd have to say that Dad's been a massive influence on all of that. My brother as well. Like they've always both been very supportive of what I've done. And obviously the last 7 years, Dale's been making sure I've got the best of what I need to be able to do the job. So he's definitely I've learned a lot working with him at the shop. Taught me a lot of things, obviously, that I never knew before I started there to the things I know now. So, and he's always had a lot of advice for me over the years. I can't remember every single thing, but I think at the time when I'm thinking of it, it comes to head. But he's always had the right thing to say, whether I'm in the heat of the moment, the red mist. He's very good at calming down the situation and getting you the focus focus at the job in hand. So, those two guys of Dad and Dale have been probably the two best people I've had in my corner for a long time. JT's always been great when it comes to engine work, and they're just both, him and Dale are both realistic when it comes to the racing stuff. There's no, it's there's no this and that, but it's just they tell it as it is, and that's, I think, why they've both been successful in their own right. So, but I've been given in France was probably the most recent advice I got when we were there, and it was from Kip Foster, who we were over there with, who's been around karting for a long time as well. And first thing he said to me when I went out for my first heat was just pick your battles. Pick your battles while you're out there. Don't get into fights that you're going to lose 10 spots over for trying to find one. He said just pick your battle and work out your time to move. So in France, that was probably the advice I took on. Dale also said to me when I go there, they're just another you with a helmet on. So don't treat them or think that they're any different to anyone else. So that's probably the two best advice I had when I went over there. And I hope I took most of it on board, but it definitely did help my train of thought while we're over there.
And so, again, obviously being a competitor for over 19 years, do you have any advice for any other competitors out there? What is your drives you?
Yeah, I just think that you can't ever give up. Like if you enjoy the sport and you want to keep doing it, I think you just got to work out the level that you want to be doing it at. So I find there's three versions of the sport at the moment. You've got your social level, you've got your club level, and then you've got your national level. So I think depends how serious you want to take it. I think I think you've just got to set yourself some goals and objectives, and if you can achieve them, then I think that you're ahead in what you want to do. So for me, it took me 19 years to win an Australian championship. Why, I know people that have won them within 5 years of being in the sport. We've got drivers like Dave Serra won 18 national titles. So you can't ever give up. I think you just got to keep plodding along and doing what you do, and your time will come.
Well, I thank you so much for your time tonight, Adam. How can people get in contact with you if they're wanting to learn more about Pacific Kart Sport or getting started in the industry?
Yeah, so obviously they can call us at the shop. We're there basically 6 days a week. So yeah, the shop number's 3807 8110, or they can get in contact with us via email, which is dale@pacifickarts.com, or obviously I'm on most forms of social media, so they can contact me via Messenger or Instagram, or however they're connected with me. So and we try and get back to everyone as quick as we can. Just some days we're head down, bum up at the shop, and we can't get the phone, mobile phone I should say, but the shop phone we're always answering. So they're probably the main ways of getting to us, or even drop into the shop and come and say hi. I would always like to see new people, that's for sure.
Thank you again, Adam. Just before we go, I've got one more question. Do you know of any resources online or otherwise that people can access about getting started in karting?
I think the best one at the moment on basically the Karting Australia website, I believe they've just released a new range of getting started in the sport goes. So things like what tools you need to require, what things for fuel mixing procedures, how to prime up your carburetors, and things like that probably your normal day people that haven't been showed that wouldn't know how to do. Or just go down to your local kart shop, talk to the people there, and they can obviously point you in the right direction.
Fantastic. So again, thank you, Adam, for your time tonight, and we look forward to seeing where your journey takes you in 2019.
get ready for the race.
Do you feel one step closer to being the next superstar behind the wheel? MotivateTraining.com.au for more. MOTIV, 8, training.com.au.
The green flag.
Every episode gets you one step closer to the checkered flag. The Motorsport Coaching Podcast, getting you to the checkered flag faster.